Hi, welcome back to the Cozy Coffee Corner here at Flickspresso, where we will be unraveling cinema one sip at a time.
Paramount News brings you a special coverage of Princess Anne's visit to Rome.
9 o'clock, we leave for the Polinari.
Roman Holiday, directed by William Wyler and released in 1953, is a cherished romantic comedy that introduced the world to the captivating charm of Audrey Hepburn. Co-starring Gregory Peck, the film tells an enchanting tale about a princess seeking freedom and a reporter finding love. Set against the picturesque backdrop of Rome in Italy, Roman Holiday is celebrated for its heartfelt story, remarkable performances, and its timeless appeal. Roman Holiday is a romantic comedy that stars Audrey Hepburn as Princess Anne, a young royal on a tightly controlled European tour. Feeling overwhelmed by her responsibilities, Anne sneaks out of the embassy in Rome to experience the city anonymously. She meets Joe Bradley, Gregory Peck, an American journalist who initially doesn't recognize her and offers her shelter. When Joe realizes her true identity, he sees a chance for an exclusive story but ultimately falls in love with her. The pair spend a magical day exploring Rome, and although they grow close, Anne must return to her royal duties. The film ends on a bittersweet note as Anne and Joe part ways, cherishing their brief but unforgettable encounter. Sounds pretty good, right? So what are the issues? Aside from some continuity errors, there isn't really much that I can complain about. Roman Holiday is a very timeless movie. It's something you can watch 70 years later, like I did, and still you can just fall in love with the characters and with the story. And even though it's in black and white, which is something that a lot of people actually that I know complain about, modern audiences nowadays seem to have what people call TikTok attention span. That means that you lose your concentration if something isn't exciting enough within the first 8 seconds or something. And regarding to old movies, that's kind of a bummer, because old movies are typically slow, very slow, and it's a waste that Gen Zers and millennials don't really watch old movies anymore, because some old movies, like this one for example, can be a true gem. Movies nowadays always start with like very active action sequences. It's like the audience need to be captivated within the first 10 seconds, otherwise audiences are gonna leave the theaters. That's unfortunately the world we live in now. 70 years ago, when this movie came out, audiences weren't like that. I sometimes compare watching old movies to reading a book, because in order to read a book you gotta get through the slow introduction stuff first, and then you get to the action. And reading a book is something that takes time, just like watching an old movie, such as this one. This movie doesn't immediately captivate you within the first minute, or the first 2, or the first 3. But if you watch the first, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, you'll slowly get into it and you'll just see the whole story unfolding itself. And eventually you get something worth watching. It's just a bummer that most audiences nowadays don't really realize that. I have to admit that I'm also guilty of using platforms such as Instagram and TikTok and, just watching 2 to 5 seconds of a video and then just scrolling to the next and to the next and to the next and to the next, etc. And that's fun for a social media platform, but I keep reading more and more articles about young people finding it harder and harder to concentrate on just normal basic stuff because of their TikTok attention span. So it's a bummer that slower movies, like movies from the 50s, such as this one, do not really get an audience anymore, except for people who are specifically interested in old movies. Let's normalize bringing patience back. One potential criticism I can give to the movie itself is its portrayal of royalty. You see, it's more of a glamorized version of royalty and kingdom and that stuff. It's a romantic comedy, and you can definitely see that it was inspired by, for example, Cinderella and Snow White and other princess movies that came out around that time. The story's fairy tale elements, while charming, they can come across as simplistic, as unrealistic to those who seek more gritty and complex storytelling. But then again, it's a romantic comedy, so what do you expect, right? That's pretty much all I have to complain about, so let's move on to the strengths. Roman Holiday boasts numerous strengths that have contributed to its enduring popularity. One of its greatest assets is Audrey Hepburn's star-making performance. Her portrayal of Princess Anne is both endearing and graceful, earning her an Academy Award for Best Actress. Hepburn's natural elegance and innocence make her transition from a sheltered princess to a woman experiencing life's simple joys incredibly believable and touching. I read somewhere that during the screen testing of this movie they were gonna go for Elizabeth Taylor, but then when Audrey Hepburn came to audition, they just did the audition, but then they kept the cameras rolling, and then she just kind of had this natural innocence, this natural charm, this natural intelligence, this natural wittiness, and William Wyler liked that so much about Audrey Hepburn that he cast her instead. You gotta keep in mind that this was Audrey Hepburn's first lead role in a motion picture ever. She did some supporting roles earlier in other movies, but this was her first major, big, starring role, you know? And then she went on to win an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role. That's pretty amazing for someone who's just in the starting blocks of her career, if you ask me.
Ladies and gentlemen, in New York City, Miss Audrey Hepburn in Roman Holiday.
I want to say thank you to everybody who in these past months and years have helped, guided, and given me so much. I'm truly, truly grateful and terribly happy.
She was only 23 or 24 at the time. I'm 23. Oh, what have I been doing with my life? Ooh. Gregory Peck's performance as Joe Bradley is also equally commendable. He was the actor in To Kill a Mockingbird, and he was also in How the West Was Won, I believe. He was known for more dramatic roles, and in this movie he played a character who was kind of stuck in between professional ambition and personal integrity. And also the chemistry between Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn was palpable, so that there was more depth to their characters and their romantic connection. And perhaps the most important thing is the setting. Rome. I'm gonna admit that I've never been to Rome myself, but this movie just makes me want to go so bad. They just spent this entire magical day in Rome together, and they just do all these romantic things, from eating ice cream and taking a haircut and just going places and doing stuff together. You know, Rome's stunning architecture and its streets, which are vibrant and full of life, they just contribute to the overall charm that the setting has. Rome basically becomes a character in its own right. You know, this whole movie is basically just one big advertisement for Rome, if you ask me, but in the good way. The setting is also a catalyst for character development, because Princess Anne's character, she begins as this sheltered royal girl who wants nothing but freedom to just experience everyday life and just the joy in the smaller things, you know? While she roams through the city streets, she experiences life, just everyday life, and this turns her into, a more mature woman, really. She gets to discover more about the city, about her surroundings, but also she discovers more about herself. And Audrey Hepburn portrays this fantastically. Additionally, the screenplay balances humor and emotion beautifully. The dialogue is witty and engaging, and it only contributes to the film's lighthearted tone. In conclusion, Roman Holiday remains a timeless classic, beloved for its enchanting story, stellar performances, and picturesque setting. The film's strengths in character development, chemistry between leads, and romantic allure of Rome far outweigh its minor pacing issues and idealized elements. As a fairy tale romance with a bittersweet ending, it continues to captivate audiences and inspire filmmakers. Audrey Hepburn's iconic debut and Gregory Peck's charming performance ensure that Roman Holiday will remain a cherished gem in the history of cinema.
Cool,
Yes.
Cool.
It's just what I wanted.
Grazie.
What did you think of Roman Holiday? Have you seen it, or have you not, or do you want to see it? I think you can watch it for free on the internet. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and then I'll be seeing you next time.